John Parker Boyd was an officer in the United States Army at various periods from 1786 to the end of the War of 1812. He attained the rank of Brigadier General and commanded during the American defeat at the Battle of Crysler's Farm. Early life. Boyd was born in Newburyport, Massachusetts, on December 21, 1764. Too young to serve in the American Revolution, but decided upon a military career. He served in the militia and joined the Army as an ensign in 1786. He served in the force sent to counter Shays' rebellion, and resigned after 3 years in the Army to serve as a soldier of fortune in the Army of the Nizam of Hyderabad in central India. Boyd was a highly successful cavalry commander, but was discharged in July 1798 due to his refractoriness, disobedience, and unreasonableness. Returned to the Army. Boyd continued to offer his services as a mercenary in India. After the British conquest ended the conflicts in which he had taken part, he disbanded his units, sold their equipment, and returned to the United States. Boyd rejoined the United States Army in October 1808. Commissioned as colonel of the 4th Infantry Regiment. During the Battle of Tipcaca he served as a brigade commander and second-in-command to William Henry Harrison, with the rank of acting Brigadier General. War of 1812. When the War of 1812 broke out, Boyd initially commanded a brigade under Major General Henry Dearborn in Albany, New York, and in action in the area around Plattsburgh. He was promoted to permanent brigadier general in July. In 1813, he successfully commanded a brigade at the Battle of Fort George. As illness or disgrace removed many of his contemporaries, he eventually commanded the garrison of captured Fort George. After a defeat at the Battle of Beaver Dams, Boyd's troops returned to Fort George and remained on the defensive, moving his troops from Fort George to Sackett's Harbor. He later participated in Major General James Wilkinson's ill-fated expedition to attack on Montreal. At the Battle of Crysler's Farm in November 1813, the illness of Wilkinson and the Army's second-in-command, Major General Morgan Lewis, made Boyd the commander of the attack. His troops, poorly trained and dispirited from the rapid changes of command, straggled into action on unfavorable terrain. Boyd lost control of the battle and was defeated. Boyd remained in command of a brigade in winter camp at Salmon Creek, near Sodus Point, New York. After a half-hearted attack by Wilkinson at a coal mill failed, Wilkinson blamed Boyd, and Boyd was moved into a rear area assignment. He saw no further combat service, and in 1816 he published a defense of his actions. Later life. After leaving the Army in 1815, Boyd was involved in several business ventures, often in partnership with his brothers Ebenezer, Robert and Joseph. He was a founder of the Maine towns of Orneville and Medford. In 1820 he was compensated by Britain for military services he had rendered in India. Originally a Democratic Republican, and later a Jacksonian and a Democrat, Boyd served as a member of the Boston City Council in the 1820s. He was also active in civic causes, including the Scots Charitable Society. In 1829 President Andrew Jackson appointed Boyd naval officer of the Port of Boston, replacing Thomas Melville, and he served until his death and burial. Boyd died in Boston on October 4, 1830. He was buried at Christ Church Cemetery in Boston. Military reputation. Boyd's reputation as a commander is mixed. On one hand, he was praised for his skill, including his success in India. On the other, he was defeated at Crysler's Farm by a force only half the size of his. Winfield Scott clearly did not have high regard for Boyd, calling him amiable and respectable in a subordinate position but vacillating and imbecile beyond all endurance as a chief under high responsibilities. Others have commended Boyd's military performance on specific occasions, including Tippecanoe and Fort George. Will. Boyd prepared a will in November 1816. As transcribed, it reads, I, John Parker Boyd of Boston, in the county of Suffolk and Commonwealth of Massachusetts, being of sound mind and memory, conscious of my dependence upon the Supreme Being and convinced of the uncertainty of human life, being now about to depart for Europe, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament, revoking and annulling all by me heretofore made. In premier, after my legal and just debts are paid, I give and bequeath 1/4 of all my estate to Frances Boyd, my natural daughter by Housina, a Mahometan lady born in my camp in the vicinity of Pana, in the month of June and 4th day, 1797, and christened the same year in Pana by the Revd. Father of the Roman Catholic Church of that city, Major Tone being godfather and Madame Francois and Finglap godmothers. But in the case of my daughter, the said Frances Boyd shall decease without lawful issue. My will is that my brothers and sisters shall be her heirs to the property I have thus bequeathed her, and to her relations in India, to be divided between my said brothers and sisters in the same proportion as the property I have herein bequeathed to them is distributed. I give and bequeath 1/4 of all my estate to Wallace, my natural son by Marie Rupel, born October 1814. But in the case this child Wallace should die without lawful issue, my will is that my brothers and sisters be heirs to the property I have herein bequeathed to him, in like manner as I have stated with respect to my daughter, the said Frances Boyd, now in India. I give and bequeath 1/2 of all my estate to my own brothers and sisters in the following proportions: to my brother, Robert Boyd, 1/10 of the aforesaid 1/2 of all my estate; to my brother, Joseph Boyd, 2/10 of the aforesaid 1/2 of all my estate; to my brother E. L. Boyd, 2/10 of the aforesaid 1/2 of all my estate; to my sister Margaret Storer, 2/10 of the aforesaid 1/2 of all my estate; to my sister Frances Little, 3/10 of the aforesaid 1/2 of my estate. But nevertheless I will the following legacies be first paid out of the whole estate before any dividend shall take place: 100 guineas to Miss Maria Smith of Philadelphia to purchase a ring which she is requested to accept as a testimony to my ardent and unchangeable affection. I commit the care and guardianship of my son Wallace to my sister Little, and would recommend that he should be educated for the Army or Navy. I do constitute my brothers, J.C. Boyd and E.L. Boyd, as executors. Family. Boyd never married, but according to his will and other sources is known to have had 2 children. One was a daughter named Frances, born in India on June 4, 1797 to a Muslim woman named Housina. The other was a son named Wallace, born in October 1814 to a woman named Marie Rupel. As indicated in his will, Boyd intended to leave a large portion of his estate to Housina and Frances, but they could not be located. Wallace received 25% of Boyd's estate. He later changed his name to John Wallace Boyd and became a ship's captain based in Boston. Legacy. Boyd Lake in Orneville is named for him. In 2008, a Mississippi woman, Charlotte DeLippe, purchased at a Goodwill store in Georgia for slightly more than $7 an antique 2-volume Bible inscribed Symphonia A. Little, presented by her uncle General Boyd. At the time of the purchase, Dillard planned to keep the books and display them at her home. Boyd's name is included on placate in Paul Revere Mall, listed among those from Boston's North End who played leadership roles in the American Revolution and War of 1812.